Let's set that up. All right, Sean, what should our intro be?
Hi, welcome in. You've made a terrible decision.
On that note, I'm going to start my good old jams. Keep that in the background.
Oh, sweet. We have sweet yams.
All right, yeah. Now, Sean, I have
Yeah.
two things to look into right now. I have movies open, and I have
All right.
Vidya open.
And Vidya open.
What do you want to talk about first?
Actually, I would like to talk about movies first.
Let's talk
Just
about movies. Do you want to talk about movies that are gonna come out or have come out?
I want to talk about movies that have come out because I'm kind of a hermit, so I don't get out very often. Like a reference is, I think the newest movie I even seen was Ready Player One, and that's when it came out.
Right.
So it's been a while, and I also want to talk about older movies in general because I very recently watched A Fistful of Dollars, like the OG original Clint Eastwood Western. And for those of you that end up listening and don't know, Fistful of Dollars was the first time that Clint Eastwood, where he got his role as like the badass, essentially, the Western tough guy, the tough American. But it was also the first time that someone shot on screen. In that same shot, people actually died. So that's what makes it kind of like a also an historical movie in a sense. But it was that I watched that movie, and immediately afterwards, because this was Hulu, so I found I already forgot what it was, but it was just like the Incredible Seven or something. It's one of the more recent, like what
Right.
Kurosawa's setting towards. It's like every Western, basically. But the thing that I found was I was okay with rewatching A Fistful of Dollars, and I actually enjoyed it. I watched it. With Epic Seven, there's like it was weird because you watch it once and you enjoy the spectacle of like explosions, like a whole bunch of like cool things happening. But once you watch it once, you don't really care about watching it.
What, a fistful of dollars?
No, the other, like the more recent movie, the
Oh,
Epic
so,
Seven.
so is the Epic Seven like a remake of Fistful of Dollars?
No, no, it's just they're both Western.
Oh,
I just wanted to see like when I watched A Fistful of Dollars, I'm like, oh, this is a really cool Western, but it's
right.
really really old. So I was wondering, all right, what is a more recent Western? And so I kind of watched the two of them. I got really disappointed in the newer one,
That's sad, dude. I
like a
mean,
little bit.
it's, I guess, not the fault of the new movie. I would say it's more the fault of the death of the genre. Because westerns have been dead for a while.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the only way Western seem at all is if they're a comedy.
Yeah. And that's why we got,
Which
what is it, 10,000 Ways to Die in the West?
in the West, yeah, and that's like a whole different. That's a whole different can of worms right there. Because at the very least, they're trying to be funny.
Yeah, good old Seth MacFarlane coming in with his funnies.
Yeah.
But talking about westerns, I actually just remembered. I was watching this guy talking about, what was it, Logan? Have you watched Logan?
I have not watched Logan.
Dude, if you like westerns, I'd suggest watching Logan because there's a bunch of parallels with westerns and superhero movies in that one.
Gotcha. Well, it's like the death of a suit, like death of super. Essentially.
Yeah, especially
At
with
least from my.
fucking all these all the superhero movies we've had in the last decade. Like
Oh
Jesus,
goodness
man.
gracious. Yeah, that's it's fun.
But at least we
But
got
okay, I've
Shazam.
only I've only seen one part of Logan, and it was because people at the school were watching it on the. And you know what part I walked in on?
Uh,
Take a guess.
was it at the very end?
It was when he dies.
Nice.
So right at the very end. And
I
that's the
mean,
only part I've seen of the movie.
I would say you didn't really, you didn't get the movie spoiled. Like, that's the whole thing in the movie. He's gonna die. And then
No, yeah, like,
it's how he's coming to his death, essentially. So I mean, I
yeah.
think we just spoiled it to whoever watches this. But who hasn't watched Logan? It came out what?
Well, I
7
haven't.
years ago. Sean,
Well,
come
I
on.
haven't apparently.
But see, that's a 50-50 chance that someone hasn't watched it. So I mean, guys, come on. But on that note, talking about oversaturation of superhero movies, apparently Shazam came in with a different tone. Like,
Well,
it's
Shazam straight up, like, admitted that, all right, we're going for the much more comedic route because we're literally a kid that's becoming an adult within the span of, like, a minute.
yeah,
And he has superpowers. I mean, I've only seen the trailers.
yeah.
That's it. And I think the best, like, adaptation of what this is like, he's having fun. He has all these superpowers. He's taking down the small-time dudes. And then the moment that a supervillain shows up, he realizes, oh, I might die. And then immediately grabs the nearest Batman and throws it at him in order to run away.
Is that the movie?
I would say that that's at the very least a good start.
Well,
Because let's face it, if you're a kid, you see a supervillain, and you see right next to you something that looks like Batman, you're probably going to either hide behind Batman or try and get away.
very fair, very fair. Now, I'm not savvy to DC Comics, but
And neither am I.
apparently
Both is.
there's more funnies in this movie, so I kind of want to watch it, but I kind of don't want to spend money on it. Are you gonna watch Endgame? Oh, well, you said you haven't watched any movies since...
I haven't, essentially since Ready Player One, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I have not been keeping up with the superhero movies, because the last one that I saw in, like, the whole lineup was Doctor Strange.
Ooh, buddy, that's a good one.
That was, dude, visual effects are amazing in that, and an actually decent story.
Right? It was freaking amazing. What came after that?
I didn't care. I just saw, to be completely honest with everyone that hears this, is that I watched Doctor Strange for 3 reasons. One was actually because I was in the video editing class, which included visual effects.
Right.
It's visual effects for film.
Yeah.
So our teacher, Ben Goldberg, told us to go and watch that movie because he was going to, and he's going to base our grade based on the standards kind of set by that movie.
Excuse you. Ben.
I know, so that's why I'm just like, I am getting straight from an A to like a B minus. But second is because I'm actually legitimately interested in the visual effects.
Well, shit, dude. If you want to hit me up doing some special effects.
I might, but the third and arguably biggest, but also not biggest, was like it's a walk within walking. The movie theater's within walking distance from my house, so I just get up on a Saturday, take a walk, and then I'm good.
Are you still at that one place?
Yeah, I'm still a few miles from the back theater.
Nice of you.
Yeah.
Well, fucking dude,
Also,
you watched one of the best, one of the few. Well, actually, no. A lot of Phase 3 movies were really good. Doctor Strange was good. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was good. Homecoming was good. Ragnarok was good.
I did not see Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
I mean, does anybody have Netflix at your house?
Yeah, but I never use it.
Sean, get on there.
What?
almost
No.
actually all the movies except Captain Marvel is on there. I
That's a
don't think
lot of time
I don't
that
think
I don't want
Homecoming's
to
on.
watch. And people at my old school that doesn't exist anymore, sad face,
Tell me about it.
essentially ruined the superhero this kind of like franchise for me because
Who?
um,
Just everyone at school?
just half the people there, whenever a new Marvel movie would come out,
Hey,
they would argue about the most pointless thing. The point of which it was so much easier to just not know
uh,
and
I
just
mean,
literally say, I haven't watched the movie, I don't care.
look, man. I'm gonna tell you right now, objectively. Look. The Marvel movies are like subpar if you're like a comic book fan. But if you just like fun movies, you want to watch these Marvel movies. But you don't want to watch Captain Marvel. Holy shit, dude. They came into Captain Marvel and they're like, hey guys, we said at the end of Infinity War that Captain Marvel is gonna beat Thanos. So let's make Captain Marvel's origin movie, and then we can make the last Infinity War movie. How about that, guys? And I was like, all right, what's the plot? And they're like, I don't fucking know. Captain Marvel comes to the scene. They're like, okay.
So what you're telling me is that the entire Captain Marvel movie, instead of going through an actual superhero phase in which it goes through like the hero's journey of most things, and for most people who don't know the hero's journey, I would say look it up because I'm not going to give a very good explanation, a very summarized one. Essentially, it's a person who seems as if they are a regular person. They go through a trial and they kind of succeed a little bit. They're like on high hopes, and then they go through something which brings them all the way back down to earth, like all the way, like beats them into the ground. Selcom is gone, and then they have
That's
to
a little
go through
funny.
some kind of like either self rediscovery or go through like some other trials until they basically overcome the very thing that brought them down in the first place. And usually, like in between that spot, they find out, oh, you have power, or oh, you're related to this person. That means you have a destiny. Blah blah blah. Basically, all along you were destined for this. So essentially, it throws any kind of hard work out the window and says, "Yeah, you're gonna do this anyway." What happened?
Yeah, just think
So if
Star
you're
Wars
regular,
Episode 4.
yeah, if you're a regular dude, you're screwed. Um, yeah, that's what it boils down to. But once he gets over that, all of a sudden, summary is you go home. Like nothing happens after that. Like you have the big climax, and then either nothing happens, or all of a sudden, oh, now that you can do this, guess what? Now I have to deal with more.
Alright.
As I
Oh
said,
my god.
hero's journey. Look it up so you can tell me how wrong I am.
Hey, hopefully this podcast will help us become even sharper artists. But dude, holy shit, like, I mean, I think Civil War and Captain Marvel were like really the worst movies out of Phase 3, so you can maybe like skip those if you haven't seen those,
I'm glad I have. I haven't seen either of them then.
but really the movies that kind of matter in Phase 3 would be Doctor Strange, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, and really that's the movies that I'd suggest you watch.
I found, an interesting thing I found though with
Many.
the superhero movies
Huh.
is that they've come closer to comedies as the movies have gone on.
Well, because they realize that it's not all about the superhero anymore because we've gotten so much superhero. So it's like, what can you do in this hero's journey of a movie to make it interesting again? Because,
Yeah,
Jesus. All right, let me see how many. 21 movies, man. Let's do some math. Sean. 21 times 1.5.
21 times what?
Times 1.5.
All right, that would be, let's see, 31.5.
31.5.
Yeah.
Let's see, what's 21 times 3?
That would be 63.
You said 31 and a half?
Yeah, 31 and a half and then 21 times 3 would be... I can do math. Shocking.
Minus 31, 63 was that? Yeah, 63. Minus that, what was that? 15? 16.
Well,
So
I guess
give or take 30 to 50 hours of movies. How is that hero's journey that was Iron Man 1 gonna push this freaking franchise for another 48 hours?
yeah, because that's really like I feel like since Iron Man was basically like the first, he's been like the main character for this.
Yeah, and it only made sense afterwards when you like look into the history of the MCU. You're like, oh, that's why Iron Man is main character.
Yeah.
But now they're trying to change that up with with Wakanda and Black Panther and Spider-Man coming in. Cause dude,
Yeah, I actually enjoyed Black Panther.
You watched Black
Because
Panther?
almost no... Yeah, I saw Black Panther.
Nice.
But I enjoyed it because there were literally almost no other superheroes mentioned in that
Right?
movie.
I freaking
And
loved it.
It was them, and like it made sense for no one else to be there because it's a different country. He's literally a ruler of his own country,
Yeah.
and everything takes place there.
Yeah. What was it?
It was also really cool. I liked how they really, really went in depth with their research, with their R&D,
Their R&D?
research and development
for the Wakanda technology?
No, not for the Wakanda technology, for the outfits and kind of habits of people.
Right.
Because a lot of African tribes are represented in that movie.
Yeah.
Not directly because they look exactly like it, but I mean like clothing,
Translated.
the main attributes of what their tribes usually, at least appearance-wise, present themselves as.
Right, man. I freaking loved that. There was so much character in this just change of
also,
environment.
And it was accurate for what it was supposed to be. Like that's the biggest thing. It was supposed to be Wakanda is supposed to be a very high-tech Africa.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole point in the Marvel franchise, that is what Wakanda is. Or technically, I guess Wakanda is like a small portion of Africa.
Right, yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense, and it's also kind of cool how they literally just have the entirety of Africa as like a huge cover.
Right, yeah. I think it's in
like
I think it's
the
in
entire
Infinity War. They're coming into Wakanda, and someone's all like, "Are you sure you want to like come in this fast? We're gonna crash." And they're like, "No, we got this." Wakanda. They're like,
God,
oh.
freaking. People doing the Wakanda Forever was pretty funny for a while, but at the same time, some people took it way too far. like way too far.
So, what was it? Did you ever watch the first Ant-Man?
No, I have not stooped down to look at Ant-Man.
Sean, it's got Bay Rudd as titular Ant-Man in Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp. You gotta watch these. These are like
already living like a broke college student. I don't need to see an older man living the same way I do.
Sean, he does not live like you. He was a criminal. That is very different.
So he had slightly more money than I do.
I don't know about that, but I suggest you watch it because it's like the comic book movie. Like, shit is just thrown at you, and they don't care about what's going on. They just care that we've got Paul Rudd here, and we're gonna make him shrink, and it's amazing. And maybe I'm just too much of a Paul Rudd fan because I've been watching a lot of Paul Rudd movies.
That's probably it.
Dude, have you watched Our Idiot Brother with Paul Rudd?
No, I would usually stray away from those.
Sean, watch movies. Alright, we've been talking a lot about Marvel. What else has been coming out?
Ready Player One.
Alright, so Ready Player One.
Ready Player One is actually a interesting thing. I have not read the book. Full disclosure there.
I mean, I didn't read it either. I was supposed to read it. I didn't read it.
I actually would say it's better to, if you want to read a book that has a movie adaptation, I would recommend to watch the movie first, purely so that you can actually enjoy the movie in all its glory.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, literally just watch it for all its glory and then read the book. That way you will probably enjoy the book a lot more, because you'll see like, oh, they took this from the book, or you'll learn to not like the movie as much. But at the very least, when you watch the movie, you can actually enjoy it.
Now, yeah, I mean, that's the problem with book to movie adaptations. You can't really
and
completely
another thing
adapt
is that
something that's written. But you were saying?
But another thing is that people argue that the Harry Potter series was able to put a lot more into them, especially the last two movies, since there was 2 movies for a book.
Right.
But the thing is that was a series. Yeah. That was multiple books, and at the end, it wasn't that they wanted to put more in, just they knew they could make movies and milk. I haven't watched the 8th movie.
I mean, I've only watched 2 of the Harry Potter movies, and I mean, from what I've been mostly hearing, like, the Harry Potter movies aren't necessarily, like, dense with description. It's more of, like, vignettes. It's like,
well, yeah, and that's the whole thing, is that a movie of a book is a vignette of the movie.
Yeah.
But I think Ready Player One it's weird because it's a timed piece, but it's a timepiece for nostalgia.
Right, yeah.
Because it's literally directed for the audience of people mine and your age, and they're like early to mid 20s, maybe a little bit later, maybe like 30s. But the whole thing is that movie was literally just nostalgia, the movie.
I mean, the book was nostalgia, the book.
Also, sorry for everyone, they seem to have lawnmowers in full force outside my window. One moment.
And now we are waiting for the humble Sean to come back from murdering the landscapers. Join me as we find out what exactly drove Sean to the murders.
Alright, audience, hopefully that is slightly better, so I had to hear the land side. But where are we? Oh yeah. The reason why I say it's a timepiece is because in like 20 to 30 years, people will still look at it with nostalgia, but it won't quite mean as much because that wasn't what they grew up on.
How do you mean?
Because, well, first off, Gundam. When you saw that moment, like, I had a kid moment where I'm just like, oh, that
Gundam!
Cool. Yeah.
Oh my god, that whole scene was pretty cool, though.
The whole scene was pretty cool. But the main thing is that, like, Planet Doom, anyone that played Doom immediately just had a moment like that. Like, it meant a lot. Meanwhile, in like 20 years, you're gonna have people that's just like, Planet Doom, wow, that sounds like really ominous. Wow.
Sean, I'm gonna fight you on that, because Doom 2016 came in and kicked everyone's butt. I think people are gonna remember Doom for Doom.
Okay, maybe Doom's a bad example because, let's face it, original Doom can run on anything.
It could.
or you can make it run on it by engine. Sorry, but what I mean is that like in years, people that are born just now, they aren't going to have that same nostalgia to like all
No.
the characters. They're not going to fully appreciate like, oh, like Atari from the '80s or like all these '80s stuff.
If anything, they'll know the Atari from Ready Player One.
Exactly. That's the whole thing is that
Yeah.
it'll be a timepiece of, wow, when this movie was made, these things were already old.
Yeah. What else?
And I also liked it for its visual effects, but I really understand that the story is not meant to. It isn't a story. It isn't a movie that's going to.
Isn't gonna
Now,
let.
strangely enough, I do believe it is a movie that can easily be updated
An updated movie.
because, yeah, and well, I guess you could say instead of updated, they could just remake the movie. But because of how much of it is like visual effects and such, and how many characters are, you have Blizzard who paid a lot of money to just basically have their character models there.
Yeah.
I can appreciate. I really feel that that's what the future is going to be like for visual reality or virtual reality.
Just giant game companies shedding out models.
Yeah, to use if people like pay for it or do something. I mean, it's basically free advertisement at that point if besides their models and avatar. And also major appreciation of people because some of those models, goddamn, heart attack. Anyways, but the thing is that it'd be a movie in which you could literally take almost all the visuals and such within 10, 20 years. You could just replace the models with some of the characters.
Yeah.
And then, boom, like a good portion of the movie is redone, essentially.
I mean, I don't know how a giant studio functions, but at least for me, I'd probably delete my
My files.
yeah, my files and not my renders. Like, I feel like they'll probably keep the renders, just not the files.
Yeah, that'll keep them.
You know, like, why do I need the files? I have the movie out, man. Here's the movie. Check
Well,
it
I
out.
would say they need like some of the build files because, like character animation, like you might just reuse animations.
Yeah. No, what else? No, I'm looking at this movie release, man. And the first thing
Oh,
that's
really?
showing on here is Pet Cemetery. Have you seen anything about Pet Cemetery?
I've only seen a few things about Pet Cemetery, but what the vibe I'm getting is like a Child of the Corn, and
Child with Corn.
no, Children of the Corn, because it seems like that, but it's cemetery
Right. Wow.
with animal masks. Like that's what I feel happened. But at the same time, I haven't seen either movie.
Well, I
I've
haven't
only
seen
seen
either as well. But
All right. Were you
I
about
hear-
to say I haven't seen either?
yeah.
Because that is technically correct to say. It is fine to say that.
But it
As
felt like I
confusing
was
to people as it may be.
yeah, I felt like I was pushing cotton out of my mouth trying to say that though.
But no,
hear-
what I mean is that they're both going to be. I hope that it's going to be more in the psychological horror one because I really feel like psychological horror is actual horror. Drama and the psychological horror is actual horror instead of jump scare.
Oh no,
Because
yeah.
jump scares is a gimmick. It's a gimmick, and it plays. Oh God, all right. So audience that doesn't know this, one of our teachers, shared teachers when we were in college together, Chris Kelly, wonderful animation. Literally, one of the best people you can speak to if you prove that you actually care about what you're doing, and also a person who will let you fail miserably if you don't. It's great, but would do a thing when he's explaining something, he would cross his left arm over his stomach, and he'd rest his right elbow on his hand, and then he'd gesture with his right hand. I have literally been doing that the entire time of the podcast.
Is that
I didn't
true?
realize it. Yes, I've literally been doing this the entire time, and I noticed this is great. But I feel like jump scares, to get back to the point, is a gimmick because what it does is it plays on a person's actual fight or flight response. And some of you may know if you have a fight or flight response. First off, I'm sorry if your friends test that. I'm going to lay that out there. But the thing is that the gimmick is a loud sound, slight rush of adrenaline, your body doesn't know what to do, it's involuntary action. Whereas I believe psychological horror, actual horror, is a mix of drama and kind of connections to actual real life situations.
So real horror.
So yeah, so real horror because it's believable. Like that's the biggest thing, is that a lot of scary movies, not the actual scary movie, guys, that's more comedy, truthfully. But most scary movies play on that, but it's in situations in which are very forced. Like you have people literally making bad decision after bad decision after bad decision after bad decision, and then stakes that lead to them getting killed by literally presenting themselves to the kill. And somehow that doesn't like register for anyone else that, hey, maybe we should just. Whereas real horror might be things that stick to you, where they aren't quite as, they're much more subtle. It's a much more subtle thing that happens. You know that there is something wrong, but the thing is, if you can't tell what is wrong, then a horror movie is doing its job right, because it's only yourself telling yourself that something's wrong with no evidence thereof.
Is that a fact, Sean?
That is my take on it.
Well, unfortunately, what I've heard is that Pet Sematary is just like any other horror movie. It's cheesy.
Dang it!
There's I think there is one jump scare, and I think it's like subpar on the spooky. But neither of us have watched it, so I wouldn't take what I just said too seriously. But on that, how about we switch over to video games, man? Like that's what I've been doing.
That's what you've been doing. That's what you've always been doing.
No. I mean, yes, but no. Now, check this out, Sean. There's this game coming out, Weedcraft Inc.
Of course, you would be the one that is super hyped for the Weed Inc.
Did you just say hi? Not even. Apparently, I was hoping something closer to like Surgeon Simulator, but with weed. But it looks more. It's a little cuter than that and kind of actually interesting. I mean, I feel like it's probably like Nintendogs meets.
Oh, weed farming?
No. It's like Nintendogs meets Plants vs. Zombies meets venture capitalist.
That sounds pretty accurate. So it's basically an idle game, is what you're telling me.
Kind of. Basically, from what I saw, but again, it doesn't come out for another 2 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, some of these games haven't come out
quite yet.
Yeah.
But as for a game that recently came out, what are your thoughts on, as someone who has not played it, Sekiro?
No, I've been playing it. I just haven't finished it.
Oh, so in your opinion, how is the game?
Let's see.
And do you want to kind of give people a little bit of background on Sekiro and the developer? The good old From Software.
Oh, right. So, if you guys are familiar with FromSoft, If you guys played Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, I think there's another one that they've made, but
Well, I mean, Dark Souls 2 and 3 also count
well, I mean, yeah, but I'm saying like in what's it called?
as franchise.
As franchises. It was Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and not Sekiro. Now, if you've played any of those three, and you come to Sekiro, you're gonna have a bad time. Maybe if you just finished Bloodborne, you'll have a better advantage in this game. But this game throws a whole bunch of new mechanics that you never thought you needed. This is essentially Assassin's Creed meets the Dark Souls world.
And I'm going to take it over from here because what I need is some of a very main mechanic, all of the From Software franchises, not just one of them, has been dodging attacks, like quite literally getting out of the way of attacks. And from people who have played the game, know that it's quite literally the only reason you're able to get through the game, at least most of the time. In Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, you are thrown into the game where it is actually a very bad idea to dodge most attacks, because you won't get what is called iframe. I is invincibility frames, where while you're doing something, you cannot damage. You're invincible. This is usually what happens dodging or rolling. Quite literally all the other From Software games, except this one. So, as a person who has played From Software games for a while, it becomes very jarring because you have a habit already, just from knowing who made the game, that you should dodge. But in actuality, it's one of the worst decisions. All right, Barry, you can take over.
Right. So, this game has basically no iframes. You come in, and it's all about poise. So, now you have to completely change how to play this game. And on top of that, they add the free running aspect of the game. You can literally dodge and jump, hit a wall, but jump again, and that will make you jump forward, back, or maybe away from wherever you were. So you're literally a ninja in this game. That is who you are.
We don't mean that by like saying the game is just like, oh, you can move around and like you're literally, no, as in the main story aspect of the, it's like feudal Japan, and kind of like the Waring States era actually, or at least towards the end of it, and you are quite literally a shinobi. Like that is literally who the character is, and From Software really made it a big point of which they wanted to say that it's a whole different franchise, and I can really see it because another huge thing of the Dark Souls and even Bloodborne to a certain extent was you could change your equipment. Like that was a big thing, is that you can change what gear you're using, what weapon layout you have. And in this game, you're set. Like it doesn't matter what you do, you will have the same weapons as everyone else. And another thing is that this is a specifically solo player.
Oh, that makes me sad. There's no summoning or anything.
No, it is quite literally like God of War, God of War 4, basically. It is a solo player game, which also means you can pause.
Well, where's my freaking seppuku? I just want to go back and play Bloodborne now.
Oh, was that like a big thing you wanted?
I was hoping that eventually I'd be able to play with my friends, but I guess not. A shinobi is a lone wolf. Ugh. But honestly, just like Spider-Man 2018 did, this game freaking makes you feel like a shinobi, guys. Yeah, you have the same weapons, but you get a whole bunch of like equipment, and that's what makes it awesome. And then there's
you get really cool tools to use.
Yeah, and you get shinobi arts, And I'm just gonna leave it at that. You gotta find it out for yourself when you play it, cause ooh, they make the game tasty. And holy crap,
yeah,
man, this game comes in and it's like, hey guys, remember all the other hard games? We're harder.
Well, it's not that it's harder; it's that it's a different game.
We're different
Like
and
it
harder.
really is. Well, yeah, all right. It can be harder in some. For me, I felt it was actually a little easier because I didn't have to hunt for.
You didn't
Like,
have to hunt
equipment.
for backstabs?
No, it's that I didn't have to hunt for equipment in general.
Mm.
I didn't have to memorize where like a good thing is or decide, oh, what weapon am I gonna use? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? No, this game is just straight up an RPG. It really is a role play game of a shinobi. Yeah, it's a free roam game as well to some extent, but it's mainly just a role play game, and you're the role of a shinobi.
Yeah. And it's awesome.
All right, on to other games.
Alright, so speaking of Sekiro, there is this game coming out on the 18th. Katana Zero.
I am interested.
Let's see what that is. Ooh! It's like it's got like a retro vibe look. I can send you a link. Hold on. Check that out. It's got like
All right.
What is it? Miami lights.
Oh, it's
look?
like Miami Heat,
Yeah. It looks like that.
or what is it, Frontline Miami?
One of those. We know what we're talking about. Ooh. It reminds me of Guacamelee if you played that.
Hotline Miami. There we go. That's what it was.
That's coming out this 18th. I mean, it just looks like another beat 'em up.
And for some people who don't know what Hotline Miami is, it was a beat 'em up shooter game with great music. Like that is literally the entire game is just.
And it's got like
Hotline.
it's got like an 80s aesthetic to it, doesn't it?
80s, 80s pixel aesthetic.
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
And also, for those of you who don't know, whenever he says he's going to send me, whenever I send it, is we are doing this over a Discord channel.
Way to shatter the magic, dude.
Hey. I would say it only adds to the magic, alright?
Does it? Like, oh, we want to see. But other than that, I don't see too many cool things coming out this year. Like I was looking.
In that case, let's do a rollback then. What was one of the first games you remember playing?
Probably Mario. Like actual
Mario
Super
64?
No, Mario original Super Mario.
Oh,
Yeah.
when the game was like, enemies keep coming out of pipes and you just keep hitting them.
Yeah, the 8-bit one, first one.
Gotcha.
Yeah. What about you?
For me, the first one that I remember really playing and really getting captured into was actually, and this is going to sound very silly, is Banjo-Tooie, which is actually the second of this franchise.
Yeah.
And that is for the Nintendo 64, which is a great system. You drop a TV on it and will not care at all.
Those were the days.
Yeah, when you could practically throw your system at your sibling. Your sibling would be the person that got damaged.
That's an interesting way to put it.
And it's probably honest.
What the fuck do you mean coming 2017? I thought you said it's coming up this year. Alright, so there's this game coming out called Eternity: The Last Unicorn.
If it says it's going to come out 2017, it probably already came out.
But I don't get it, man. I guess this is coming to the Xbox One? What the hell is this? This looks weird. It looks like a new age Devil May Cry. But
Well, I mean, that's right in time for the new Devil May Cry.
with like Dungeons and Dragons role playing? Where's the last unicorn come into play?
I don't know. Have you actually seen the movie The Last Unicorn?
No, I really want to watch it though.
It's kind of weird. It's very old. I remember seeing bits and pieces of it from my childhood.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing that got me was the fact that it had to, like, a unicorn could have a second horn.
What?
Yeah, which was literally made it not a unicorn. It made it a bicorn. Yeah, it made it 2 pieces of corn. Anyways, back to the game. But my first game was actually Banjo-Tooie that I remember.
Right.
And it was that, Donkey Kong 64 and Mario 64, and Rayman 64.
So I'm guessing you had a Nintendo 64 when you were young.
Yes. It was also the grand age of renting.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, renting games in the age of Blockbuster, when that was still a thing.
See, I was more of a Hollywood Video guy, and that was at
You
the end.
heathen! No, I'm kidding.
That was at the end of the rental store era.
Era? Yeah, well, the movie and game rental store era.
Yep, that died when we were in middle school, I think it was.
Yeah, around
Those were
there.
sad days. I was like, no, I can't watch movies that we don't have here. And then it wasn't, like 8 years until I got Netflix.
Yeah, so there's an interesting time gap. Okay, that's an interesting thing for everyone listening to hear, is that there was a huge time gap in Netflix actually becoming mainstream by the public part. Redbox came in like a year before Netflix, and then seems to have kind of gone into obscurity. And then the rental movie stores basically going out of business immediately. And there's a few years in which there just wasn't really a way to have access to movies outside of essentially going to the movie. Which is very novel if you think about it, since this is during the early ages of the internet.
It was.
And going in force. Now, back to games, though. I played the games in the wrong order. I played Banjo-Tooie first.
Banjo-Tooie?
Yeah, Banjo-Tooie first, the second series. Then I played the second of the series I played was Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, which was a completely different. It was basically.
Oh no! You played the bad game.
It was a different game because it was, instead of a story RPG game, it was a story build your vehicle game.
Yeah.
And a lot of people did not
big
like it.
empty world.
Yeah, and you know what? I had a ton of fun. Especially when I found out that you could literally make a vehicle that was a seat, a fuel pack, and a rocket.
Interesting.
And that was all you needed to technically have a. Technically, you can make a vehicle by just having a seat, which is silly. Anyways, I played and beat the third game first. I then played the first game for the first time, and then I beat the second.
Yeah.
And then I've never finished the first game because it was a rental, so I had to get it back.
You heathen.
Oh, you don't even know. There's a game called Majora's Masks in the Zelda series, GameCube. In that game, like in-game time, you have 3 days to solve everything.
Yeah.
And you can continually restart the 3 days. And I played that game only once, and it was during the time of rentals. So I had 2 days to play this game.
Son.
And that was it.
Uh-huh.
So I literally had less time in-game person had than real time to play. Never got to play that game
You did. All right, Sean. You need to get closer to your mic.
All right, so I need to get closer to my phone. All right, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's better.
All right, cool.
You cut out every so often, but that should fix it.
All right, cool. So, essentially, I got to play Majora's Mask for a total of 2 days, and I never got to play it or really figure out what I was doing because I was like 6.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also another very interesting thing is that some games force problem solving,
Right.
and some games have problem solving that is really beyond some of the intended audiences, which I actually believe is good.
Mm-hmm.
Because some would argue that it would be very frustrating, and it is. It's frustrating not to figure things out. But as a child, it's a very important thing to figure things out that are beyond you. Because then you have less trouble figuring things out that are beyond you as you go through in life.
Right. So you're getting philosophical over here.
Well, it's along the lines of just a game is fun to play, but once you get beyond just the fun aspect, there can be other things in the game.
Trust your audience is what he's saying.
Well, trust your audience to at least have enough patience to figure stuff out for their own selves.
Yeah.
Unless you're catering to someone that isn't a kid.
That is very true. We do need to teach our children.
Well, it's not just that we need to teach our children, since I found that children tend to be a lot more patient with problem solving sometimes than adults.
I can see that.
It's more of the way of thinking, and you get into child psychology because kids are much more malleable, and they inherently understand that there isn't a lot that they know, so they're okay with being wrong. Whereas growing to an adult, mindsets tend to become more solidified, and because of that, they don't take too well to being wrong, and it's harder to change.
Right.
All right. So, Barry, what would you say is one, not your only one, but one of your all-time favorite games, and why?
One of all-time favorite games? I would say Marvel Spider-Man 2018, because it's Spider-Man 2 from what, 2000 whatever?
From the PS2 era?
Yeah, modified and made even better for the 2018 audience. It looked pretty, it sounded pretty, you felt like Spider-Man. It was pretty cool.
So in your games, you very much like the spectacle and awe of the game more than anything.
If they made you feel like someone else, I think it wins. And if they made you feel like someone else,
you must have really loved the Batman game.
The Batman game? I've only played Batman, the first 2 Arkham games, Asylum and City, and they were pretty alright. What was it? I didn't really care for how dark it was, but I really liked that Mark Hamill was still part of the Joker. So really, that's the only thing that really kept me in the Arkham series. Everything else was interesting, but it just...
You just really love the freedom and spectacle that Spider-Man brings.
Dude, you're in Manhattan and you're Spider-Man.
And did you deliver that pizza on time?
In the PS2 version? Yes. I did that all the time.
Alright, so for those who may not have played the game, or do at least not know of it, isn't it one like the first mission is technically delivering pizza?
I think so.
Yeah, and so while you are delivering this pizza, you come across a literal burning building. And the first mission is to save everyone in the burning building, and another check mark is, if basically kind of sets the pace for the whole game, if you're really competent enough to do this, is if you finish the game the mission within a certain time, the pizza is still good. Like, and
I
that's
need
one
to
of
go
the
back to
biggest, like,
that.
and that's like one of the major accomplishments for some people who do that. Is like, because you got to realize older games did not give you much time to work. They gave you enough time. They gave
Yeah.
you barely enough time. And by barely enough time, I don't mean that you have like a whole like 30 seconds to spare. I mean, like, some of these games made it so that you would finish on 1 second remaining, or there would literally be no time remaining.
Those are the games, man. Those games freaking ground us to be the sharpest video gamers ever. These
Well, it's
kids will
because
never
we had.
understand.
No, they will when they play them for themselves, and they'll be infuriated with how little time they have. Um, just like we were once. But I
Once.
think the best example of a game that really cut your time down, for at least for me, was actually Donkey Kong 64.
Donk 64.
Yeah, Dong 64. Wow, thank you. Um,
I said
so
donk, but okay.
yeah, New Donk City.
Oh my
Uh,
god, dude.
so what ended up happening in Donkey Kong 64 is that there is a ton of time challenges. Like, you'd have to do random things within a certain time, or you'd have to do something and get somewhere within a certain time to open up a new area. But the thing is, the game quite literally gave you enough time if you just started whatever you needed to, and you booked. Like, you had no time to waste, and if you made it in on 0, sometimes you made it.
Sometimes you made it.
Sometimes, like, if you got it when it counted to 0, it would still count. It would still count. I, as a child, had so many like close shaves with that. I am actually a little bit embarrassed to say about how many times I need to just immediately take a break. Like, as a child,
You're like, that was too tense. I need a
I need
massage
a
and a juice box.
no. I need a bathroom break and like a cup of milk from a sippy cup. Like, which is basically the child equivalent of taking a smoke break. Uh, but it was one of the things of just, it really forced you to use every second, and I noticed that most games nowadays don't do that, which I'm
Nah.
kind of glad, because it gives you a little bit of time to make mistakes, kind of fiddle around with whatever you might want,
Yeah,
because now they have extra stuff.
now they've made mistakes a lot more worse. They're like, you don't have a time limit, but if you don't watch yourself, that's death. Restart, boyo.
Yeah, but that's basically keep doing it till you do it right, which, let's face it, is how games have always been.
Really?
Like, all those time attack things, yeah, they wouldn't give you any time to deal with it, but they would still give you the ability to retake it multiple times, which I think is another reason why they give a lot more time to people, at least in newer games, because they've gone from, all right, here's a very specific time frame you have to work with, but you can keep trying all you want to. You have one shot at this. Take as much time as you want, or it's one shot, we give you a little bit more time.
I can see that. All right, Sean. Any closing thoughts? We covered a
I
lot.
hope that for the people that actually have listened to this, or that will listen to this in the future, first off, thank you very much for participating in all of this, and I hope that you will enjoy our further podcast from on. And if you guys have any kind of suggestions that you want me and Barry to kind of go through, or at least kind of touch upon, please do. Tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. And I think that'll be it from my end of the screen. How about yours, Barry?
Well, I say we've covered a lot. We went over some of our old movies, some movies we watched, some movies we liked, some of the movies that are coming out, and what we think about them.
And a few games.
Yeah, a few games. Some of our favorites. And hey, if you guys want to join in on the conversation, why don't you tell us what your favorite games are, and if you want us to talk about those, because maybe we've played them. We're
Or even better, maybe we haven't, and we'll get something new.
yeah. So yeah, like Sean said, hit us up with some suggestions and some whatever that you guys want to hear us talk about or what you liked.
All right, and I think that'll bring this very first podcast of ours to a close, actually. And thank you again, and we hope to at least see your comments, tell us about it, converse with us, give us something to do.
Yeah. Thanks for coming to our little corner of the internet.
Bye-bye.